Let's have a conversation.
So you literally were one of my very first followers. And then when you followed me and I, followed back, I was like, this dude is cool. Like,
if they say talk to your manager, you just say, you know what, talk to the hand. You don't need to be on my podcast. But yeah, dude. Yeah, you do a great job.
Thank you. I always get a kick out of talking with you on Patreon. You have a really good, view on everything.
That wasn't planned.
You know what? But I like this Canadian.
Well,
this one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy Transformation Tuesday. And I hope that everybody is doing well. Oh, you've been a member for 3 months, Ma. You got the special green highlighted comment. Member for 3 months. Thank you so much. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. Okay, let's see. Hey, Mark, I haven't watched The Trust, but want to listen anyways. Honestly, this is not a recap of The Trust. I was going to make sure to say that at the beginning. This is not in any way a recap of The Trust, even though I am all caught up. I watched all the episodes of The Trust. I used my comment well. Love that, Ma. Miss you in the Discord chat, Ma. So anyways, yeah, this is not a recap of The Trust. This is just, I guess, an introduction to The Trust. Thank you. For those who have not actually watched it, or maybe just, for those who have watched it as well. But yeah, so my understanding of The Trust from the episodes that I have seen. The Trust started off really kumbaya. So what it is that there is a big prize pot. The prize pot, I think, was about $250,000, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, yeah, that sucks. Yeah, the prize pot is about $250K. I can't remember how many contestants that there was at the beginning of the show, but there's a pretty big amount of contestants to split $250K. And at the end of each episode, everybody votes. So if the votes are unanimous, if it's unanimous that nobody votes for anybody to go home, then everybody stays and everybody still has a chance to split the money. And I think the first 2 or 3 episodes, nobody voted for anyone to go home. So everybody was like, oh, I got these temptations. Oh, that's the other part of it. They have temptations during the episodes. Like, somebody will get a chance to have a temptation, and the temptation is essentially a bribe. So they'll have a chance to either take the bribe or not take the bribe. It's kind of like Survivor. You know how on Survivor, when they go around and then, they find one of those clues. I forget what they're called, but they have a choice. It's like, if you open this, then you have to do whatever it says. Otherwise, there's going to be a consequence or whatever. So that's how it is on The Trust. The Trust, they get these temptations, and then they have a chance to either open it and read it, or they have a chance to leave it alone. So they'll get a thing as an example where it says, okay, because you picked this, you will individually get $15,000 for yourself if somebody gets voted off this week. But if somebody does not get voted off this week, you don't get the $15,000. Or it'll say, like, this last episode, one of the contestants had an opportunity to take $30,000, but then he had to take part in a random selection that would block 3 people's votes. The votes in terms of voting whether somebody is going to leave. So it's things like that. So if even one person breaks what they call the trust, so let's say there's 10 of them voting for whether they want somebody to go home or not, and 9 of them decide that they don't want somebody to go home, and one person decides that they want someone to go home, somebody's going home. And that's how it goes. So I think it's like a pretty interesting concept. Oh, you haven't watched The Trust? I know Ed has watched The Trust. I think it's fun. The show is kind of interesting to me. Um, I don't trust anybody. I'll say this up and down all day, and especially in a game, I don't trust anybody. And I know when I say that, people are like, "You trust nobody." Let me explain that to you. I don't consider myself as trusting somebody really unless I trust them with my life. And there's nobody that I could meet on a show, no matter how close we are, if they're my brother, if they're my sister. I mean, brother or sister in the game, of course, not brother or sister in real life. If they're my showmans, it doesn't matter. I am not going to trust anyone that much in the game that I'm going to believe that I am safe in their hands. The other thing is, I would be thinking about a game like this every single time, every single week. I'm sitting here talking to my Alexa, and I'm like, "Hey Alexa, what is 250,000 divided by 8?"
250,000 divided by 8 is 31,250.
So I'm sitting here to myself, and I'm saying, "Okay, there's 8 people, and if we all split it, we get $31,500 a piece minus tax. And then somebody gets offered $25,000 in one of the temptations to leave the game." And I say to myself, that's a good deal considering the fact that there's like 7 people left at the point when they were offered the 25K to leave. I would probably take the 25K to leave too, because there's a chance that people turn on me and I leave with nothing. And then there's a chance that I win, and the winning split amongst the 4 or 5 of us is 50,000, 60,000. So I'm sitting here like, I like the game. It's interesting to me, but I also don't necessarily see huge benefits to being on the game. That's the whole thing. I'm the same, Mark. Major trust issue with me. I only ever really trusted my mom completely. Yeah, I have a short list. Like my grandma would have to be on the show with me. I would trust my grandma with my life. But my grandma's not going on that show with me. I know you have to vote somebody out every episode. I mean, like if you don't, it's one. I understand, like, oh, we want to have the largest group to have the surest chance of getting money, but getting $30,000 or like 30, 40, $50,000, is that really worth it playing a competition show like that? Like the circle pays $100,000 for the winner, even though only one person gets paid. It's $100,000 for the winner. That's another thing I was gonna say. With the exception of Squid Game, the challenge obviously had a $4.56 million prize, which we don't know has been paid or not. As of when the show ended, I heard that it had not been paid. But they have an exceptionally large prize, the biggest prize in competition show history. But most of these Netflix shows do not pay very well. Because we have, I think, what does Amazing Race pay $1 million? Ma? I know that Survivor pays $1 million. Weirdly, the challenge varies a lot. The challenge it pays as little as $250K. Sometimes they pay $1 million. Sometimes they pay 400,000, 800,000. But anyways, nothing pays as little as the Netflix shows. Okay, so Amazing Race gives $1 million, which I guess is split between the 2 partners, but it's still $1 million. Survivor gives $1 million. The challenge gives at least 250K. So this whole trust thing, a huge split of 250K, the money part of it doesn't make too much sense to me. The temptation part, it's kind of interesting, but Ed, I feel like the Temptations, they need to make them, if they do this again, I feel a little bit like the Temptations need to be a little bit juicier. They've had one or two that are pretty, pretty interesting, but they've had several of them that's like, okay, you get $15,000 if someone gets voted out. That's not really a huge gamble, especially during a point in time when a lot of people wanted one person out. So it was kind of a no-brainer for what's her name, Julie, to pick that at that point. BB, they'll probably get up to 750. I mean, they'll probably get up to 1 million. Maybe season 30 or something like that. I don't know. Hey Tasha, if I didn't say so already. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Ma. Maybe for BB30. But it's a pretty interesting show. I would rate it an 8 out of 10, 7.5, 8 out of 10. They have a pretty good amount of drama. It started very slow, because I'm not gonna lie, I was semi interested in the Kumbaya at the beginning. We got to do what's best for the group, and we got to do what's in the best interest of the group. And I'm like, I'm here for the cutthroat, baby. I was so excited when Tolu and Winnie. When Tolu and Winnie went off in episode 6. It had to be episode 6. Yeah, I was here for that. I was here for that, and I was here for Lindsay going off. Those were my moments when people started to actually start getting real and start getting into the intensity of the game. But of course, alas, there's nothing like Big Brother. These are these shows. It's January, and we probably have a good 6 months until Big Brother comes back. So, I'm just giving all these different competition shows that Netflix is coming up with a chance and seeing which one sticks. I really want The Circle to come back. I'm enjoying The Traitors, though, even though it's painfully slow to have to wait for one episode to drop per week, but I am enjoying it. It's great when a couple wins Amazing Race, because then it's not really splitting the money, sort of going to the same pot, so to speak. I get it. I get what you're saying. But Survivor, it goes to the one person, which is great. I only watched 5 minutes of the first episode. Well, Tasha, I understand, because I know that it started very, very slow. And I actually watched the first 3 episodes over the course of 2 days. And it's not extremely exciting if I split 3 episodes over the course of 2 days to watch all of them. But I promise you, from episode 4, it picked up. It definitely picked up. I gotta check out Traders UK S2. I gotta check out Traders UK season 1, because I've only seen season 1 of US and season 1 of Canada. I liked both of them. Rocky, what's up? Thank you for the shout out. Rocky was on. Me and Rocky were both on. I always forget the name. Royalty, which now just basically has Derek and Tiffany. It used to have Derek, Tiffany, and Hannah, and that is their channel that recaps all these different shows. And they are hilarious, by the way. Tiffany and Big D, especially Big D. But I have to shout out Rocky, because Rocky shouted me out in the chat and was like, yo, Big D, you got an interview with Mark. So I've actually never asked Big D or Tiffany for an interview, but I do have somewhat of a rapport with them. So it might be worthwhile to try. You never know. I mean, they know who I am. We've met several times at this point. The part that's annoying to me about The Circle is they've already recorded season 6 and 7. So I'm like, what are y'all waiting for with dropping the season? Last year's season started, I want to say late December, maybe last week of December, and ended sometime in January, I want to say. So this year, it's already been more than a year. It's been like a year plus since the last season of The Circle dropped. So I'm like, how did they record it already and they're just sitting on it? 5 minutes more than me. The Trust seems like a bunch of D-list actors. For real, I don't really know anybody on the Trust. All like regular average Joes and Janes, because I don't know anybody that's on the Trust. What did you think of that millionaire guy? We were having a chat about this in the Discord where Ed was like, should being a millionaire disqualify you from being on the show? Here's my argument about that. Wes is a millionaire. I'm not sure about like Johnny and CT, but I know that they are well off money wise. You know, I know people that go on these shows that are actually, they have a lot of money. They have a little bit of a harder time because of that, especially Wes, because they know where he lives and what he does. But I don't even think it was just the money that made them get rid of that guy. I think that he was really arrogant with it. And I don't even feel like he was trying to be arrogant, like, yo, I got way more money than y'all. But when he was trying to plead his point about why he should stay despite being a millionaire, I was like, your place of privilege is off-putting. So I'd want to get you out of the house as well, to be quite honest. The Circle is pretty good. How do you think I would do? Would you be who would you be, or would you be a catfish? I've answered this question many times before, and I feel like my answer changes every time somebody asks. So when we look at season 5 of The Circle, Sam was on season 5 of The Circle. She won season 5 of The Circle. She never heard of the show before. She had I think that she said 600,000 or 700,000 TikTok followers before she got on the show. So she was recruited. So when they asked her about the show, she looked into the show and then was like, oh, you know, like I can give this a try. And then she won, and she used her own profile and she used herself, and she was actually like extremely honest to a fault, and she still won. So you can be yourself and win. Now, when I'm thinking about myself on a show like The Circle, I honestly feel like people would feel like I'm fake, being real honest. Like if I put on my profile my real life, if I said I'm a mental health counselor, if I said I do music, I have a podcast, whatever, I go volunteer at nursing homes, whatever, like if I said all my real life stuff, I honestly feel like the group would be like, this sounds too good to be true, this guy is fake. So I feel like I would take some elements of my life, but I would make some up as well. Whether that would be picking a totally different profile, maybe I'd pick someone else, but I would pick something that I know enough about whatever it is I'm pretending to be that it doesn't come across sounding crazy. So that's where I'm at right now. I think I might have the same problems that Dan Giesling had in the first 1 to 3 episodes if I was on the Traders, because I'm such an observer. I wouldn't be the loud person in the room. They'd probably say he's too quiet. So I think that he's possibly a traitor. Thank you, Rocky. I appreciate that. I do kind of want to interview Big D. Maybe I could get Big D and Tiffany together. Who knows? I should hit those DMs and see what happens. Just regular people, as far as I know. He looks like Sideshow Bob's child. I would be myself. Often having lots of money makes one arrogant over time. Yeah, that's the whole thing. He doesn't know a life outside of his privilege. So he's saying things that he might not even think are coming across as privilege, but they really are. Despite that I have money, I want to be amongst you guys and just learn everything about you as people and immerse myself in this experience. And I don't just have $1 million, I employ 5 different people and help them earn incomes. It's just like, come on, man. Come on, man. You know what, though? They're allowed to have notebooks. The show gives them notebooks. And when I interviewed Chaz, actually, when myself and Danny interviewed Chaz, shout out to Danny, Chaz said that he wrote everything in his notebook, every conversation that he had from the beginning of the circle to his last day on the circle. So if he was ever confused about something or couldn't remember something, he would reference the book. But then Sam, by contrast, was like, I didn't write anything down. So I'm like, oh my God, how is your memory that incredible that you didn't write anything and you won? Like, I don't have that kind of brain. I'm telling you. Exactly. People would definitely think I'm too basic. Like, what? There's no way. They'd probably be like, this guy is trying too hard to sound like a good person. It's like, this can't be. Even my stories, when they were like, if they were like, oh, tell us some of your wildest stories that happened back in the day. I don't really have terribly wild stories to tell. I mean, I'm not saying that nothing wild ever happened in my life, but compared to some of the other stories that people tell, they would be like, nah, that's not even wild. This guy cannot be who he says he is. I would have to think of stories. I would have to think of, I don't know. I would have to create some parts of myself in order to make myself seem more believable. That's funny, Ed. The struggle is real. I'm struggling between getting and sound. That's something that it seems like he would say too. When you first asked me that question in the Discord, Ed, should it disqualify you? I was thinking of Wes Bergman, but the thing about Wes Bergman that is different than this guy, I can't remember his name, but this guy that is on the trust. Wes Bergman did not come from privilege. I've heard him talk about his background before. And while he wasn't like broke growing up, he said he also was in a position where his family was not comfortable with money. Like they were not a family where he just had it all and grew up in a big mansion or anything. And he started to gain the money when he got on the Real World and he got on the challenge and he started to build some fame from that. And then he started to work on his businesses and he built up his fortune from there. So even though he has an arrogance to him, he doesn't necessarily speak to people in a way that is completely out of touch and unrelatable, because he knows what it's like to come from where they came from. Whereas this guy does not know that. He was like, my parents were real estate agents and they were rich from the jump and I inherited their business. So he can't even bring himself to that point. Like, he would have needed to have some kind of coaching. Here's how to act like a regular human being that people are not automatically going to vote right out. Like, come on, man. At first I was saying, why is he pretending not to be rich? But then when I saw everybody's confessional, I mean, I'm saying, why was he confessing to being rich? But then when I saw everybody's confessional, they were like, no, it was obvious. The things that he brought into the house with him, the way that he spoke and the way that he was acting, it was obvious to everybody. Yeah, like some of the most humble people that you see are the ones that grew up poor and then learned what it took to actually have to scrape and claw to get to that million or multi-millions. So even though right now they're in a spot where, you know, now they've achieved this space of being in this millionaire realm, they can still talk to you and say, I actually lived in your position where you are now. So I know that despite the fact that I am rich now, I know all the struggles, and you know, they could be more of like an inspirational figure. However, I'm not going to lie. If I am where I am now, which is I am far from a millionaire, and I go on a show with 10, 15, 20 other people, and I know that one of them is a millionaire, I'm like, let's get them out. They'll be all right. Like, I don't know why you came on this show, but you'll be all right. Ed, I think that the millionaires should compete. I forget what that name of that show was. You know, the Asian show, the 100. I don't remember what it was called, but the show that you were telling us about with all those rich people that were on the show, I feel like you put them all on that type of show together. So now the fact that they're already rich, we're just watching with intrigue to see which one of them is the best at competing and can outsmart and outwit and outplay the other players. You put one millionaire on a show with a bunch of people with struggle stories, it's just not a good look. And then if they win, everybody is going to be like, man, why did this person have to win? Because they don't even need that money. It's a drop in the bucket. Yeah, I mean, Ed is actually like a reality TV guru, I would say, especially when it comes to competition shows, because Ed gives all the different competition shows a look. He'll at least give them a look. I think he said he'll watch at least 2 to 3 episodes, and then he'll give us like a little synopsis and a rating and tell us whether he thinks the shows are worth watching or not. And typically, when he has done so, if he says that he thinks a show is good, I take a look at it, and usually I feel like it's good too. Once in a while, I'm like, nah, that's a miss for me, but not usually. I like Ed's takes on a lot of these things. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's 8 episodes total. There's 7 episodes released right now, and tomorrow they are releasing the finale, which is episode 8. Are they doing a Mole season 2, Ed? Because I've been waiting for that. Also, if you've been poor before being rich, you also know how quickly it can disappear and be taken from you again. Do not get too arrogant. If I didn't say hi, Debbie, hello, Debbie. Yeah, are they doing a Mole season 2, Ed? Have you actually heard something about that? Because I keep asking about whether they're going to do a Mole season 2, and I haven't heard anything about it. He knows everything about reality TV, but I know nothing unless it's... Have you not tried any of those other shows, Ma? Let me see. What is your big 3? Survivor, Amazing Race, and Big Brother, I assume? Yeah, it's got to be, because I know that you watch all 3 of those. I watch those 3. I watch The Challenge. I've been giving these Netflix shows a chance. I'm not going to say those Netflix shows are at the top of my radar. It's just that Big Brother, when Big Brother is not going on, I need other content. I need other things to entertain my time. So I was just talking about you, Danny. I shouted you out when I was talking about circle strategies, when they were asking if I would go on the circle as myself or if I would go on as somebody else. And yes, you do. Whether I'd go on as myself or somebody else. And yeah, I was talking about last season, a lot of things. I mean, you might be able to catch it in the replay. I watch cartoons instead. Between that and college, I understand. I wasn't watching any TV really when I was in college. I think I watched The Challenge because the MTV website used to be free. Like you didn't have to have a cable subscription to watch the MTV channel online. So I think I used to watch The Challenge a little bit when I was in college, but that's the only thing I was watching at that time. Making the Traders. I like Traders. Yeah, Traders is on my list now. Circle is on my list. Those are two shows, like regular TV network shows that I now have on my list of shows that I must watch when they come out. The Trust season 2, I mean, if a Trust comes out with the season 2, it's one of those things where I might come around to it, but I'm not like, oh my God, the Trust is on. I have to see the Trust. Some of these other shows. Oh, I liked the Challenge. I liked the Squid Games challenge. And I loved the actual Squid Game, and I can't wait for whenever Squid Game season 2 comes out. I have to rely on my laptop and bootleg websites. We used to have this network when I was in college that had all the bootlegs. It was like some kind of network on the college internet where we could just download all the different shows or stream the shows. I miss those days. Parv. Yeah, Parv is doing well. Well, Parv is doing well, but next episode is going to determine a lot. I'm so excited and interested to see how Parv is going to handle why did I lose track of her name? Phaedra. How Parv is going to handle Phaedra being against her like that. The Devil's Plan. I don't know why you didn't give me the name, Ed. That's the name I was trying to think of. The Devil's Plan. I did see The Devil's Plan. I was the same, just a few shows at night. Usually I watch the detective series. You know what show I really loved? It's not a reality show, but I loved How to Get Away with Murder. That's one of my top 5 favorite shows ever. I would love for you to. I think I think you would like The Traders. I feel like you would like The Traders. I mean, I did recommend The Traders to somebody else, and they were like, "It's not enough action." Oh, maybe Devil's Plan is not what I was thinking of. I did see Devil's Plan though. I did see The Devil's Plan. I haven't really seen the podcast, so I don't have an opinion. The only thing that I have seen in terms of Traders content that's not the actual show is that I've seen like the Peacock Traders recaps that they've been doing, where where the traders talk about the different moves that they've made and why, and they talk about the people that they eliminated. So that's the only thing I've seen, but I haven't actually seen podcasts. I haven't seen anyone's podcast speaking about the show. I thought it was friggin' awesome. Yeah, I'm very excited for the next episode of The Traders. Actually, they ended on such a great cliffhanger where Phaedra was letting them know how pissed that she was at them. So I have never seen, at least in any of the seasons that I've watched, even when the traders are mad at each other, they typically kind of hold their cards close to the vest and then just turn on them in a more private way. But to get in the room with the two of them and be like, y'all are not playing fair, and therefore I'm coming for you. It's interesting to see how that's going to work, because there's two sides to the coin. I think thus far in this game, and Dan called this, Phaedra has the least enemies in the house. Phaedra has the biggest group protecting her out of the three of them in the house. So it's going to be a little bit hard for the two of them to maneuver people to actually vote against Phaedra. I would love to check out Traders one episode, see what you. I read that one already. I would love for you to interview Phaedra, but Tiff brought a good point that Phaedra doesn't truly realize she was scolding gamers without souls. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, like the way that Dan Giesling is acting so tame. We know Dan Giesling. We know Dan Giesling is not really like that. He is just playing dead. And I heard somebody say, "Oh, CT does." I heard somebody in a challenge group say, "CT doesn't really know what he's doing." I disagree. CT. I realized the transition that was happening with CT on the challenge, which is that he realized that everybody was thinking he's been on the show so many times, he's won so many times, so he's a big threat. So he started playing I'm just an old man, trying to fit in with you youngins. I don't really have any say in this game. I just want to keep playing with you youngins and just reliving my old glory. I think he's kind of doing the same thing on the traders. I'm not saying he's a traders expert, but I think that he intentionally does not want to be the loudest voice in the room. That was amazing to me, because episode 3, when they did that question and answer thing and they said, who is the person who doesn't talk enough? And then almost everybody picked Dan. And then Dan, when they got on the traders table and Dan was being called out, I was like, oh, Dan's in trouble. And then episode 4, I'm like, all this chaos is happening at this table. Dan says almost nothing and he doesn't get one single vote. I was like, what a reversal of fortunes. Because I was sitting there at that point thinking, Dan might be out next episode at this rate. And I'm like, Dan is kind of sitting pretty. Dan is kind of sitting pretty. Hey, Lisa, welcome to the party. Because even on Phaedra's hit list, Parv is number 1 and Dan is number 2 on the hit list. But Dan already spoke to Parv and was like, you and I, before she even went off, it's like, you and I need to work on getting her out because she's the most dangerous player in the game right now. Dan is a criminal mastermind. There's certain people in games that are just, wow. I'd be scared of them. Dan Giesling, Kevin, even though Kevin from BB Can, even though Kevin's fate on Traders Can was that he was so arrogant with it and so loud with it that he could not play the Dan Giesling game that he's playing right now. But criminal mastermind and genius at these games. When I'm listening to Dan in these like post-game things that he's doing, he's so good. Like the way he thinks is so good. Like I'm looking at him and I'm thinking that where's the Dan that I remember from Big Brother US or whatever. But then I'm thinking this is so many years later. Number one, he's in his 40s. He's a husband and a father at this point. And number two, it's not the same game. So he's adjusting for the game that he's playing. Yes. Even though her intent was not to give it to Ekin-Su at first, it worked out. It worked out for them, especially for Dan. And Dan is running these puppet strings. Hey, Tammy. Even though it was a last minute thought. Dan acknowledged he was quiet to the group and then said to his accuser that he was willing to speak to them more aloud. Yeah, that was actually pretty smart. That was a pretty smart way to deflect. I give him that. That was a smart way to deflect. For sure. And it also helped him that Deontay Wilder defended him at that point. Where he was like, that's just our personalities. Like, not everybody is loud. So don't attack the guy just for not being as loud as everybody else. Not realizing maybe he's not the loudest guy in the room, but he's not that quiet for real. Like, being quiet for him is a strategy. But here's what I'll say. If any of y'all have watched Big Brother Canada, Kuzi tried this strategy that Dan Giesling is doing right now. So, but I think that Dan Giesling is going to be better at adapting to what people are saying and thinking about him. And he got the benefit of Sandra. I don't know what really made Sandra walk up to Dan and be like, Larsa has your name in her mouth and she's targeting you and CT. I don't know what made her do that, but alerting Dan, that was a big deal. That was like a big assist for his game. I don't know why she did that, but the one thing about the traders is that we don't see everything like Big Brother. So we don't know what kind of conversations are happening behind the scenes. Maybe production wants to portray it a certain way so that we know less and are more surprised, because that didn't exactly make sense to me. Dan is scary poised. Like his poise under pressure and his poise when he's lying. It's like he has no blood pressure. I don't understand. Yeah, Lisa's been asking about you, Ma. If you would like Lisa's email information, email me and I'll send it to you. Dan has learned the art of being, he was off the chain. This is what I'm trying to say. I think that's why I discredited Dan in the first 3 episodes, because I'm like, this is not the Dan. Dan was really squirmy on Big Brother. Even though he won one season, he was really squirmy and slimy on that show. Like, he was always trying to dig himself out of something. And I'm like, this Dan, you barely even remember he's in the episodes. Something happens and he'll be like, wow, I can't believe that. I wonder why this person would get murdered. I don't understand. Wow, I wonder who would do that. While everybody else is loud and like, I think it's this one, and this one. I can see the patterns that they're choosing, this and this, and he just kind of, I don't know. Dan is good at adapting. He's like a chameleon. He really is. Lisa, were you not aware that my Discord got hacked on New Year's? I didn't know it was New Year's, but I definitely told the group when you put in my comments that your account was hacked. I definitely let everybody in the group know. He was, and people were kind of onto him a little bit, but he always wiggled his way out. That's why I was like, Dan. The reason why I still to this day consider Dan to be my favorite and best Big Brother winner ever is because of the fact that he had one of the hardest roads strategy wise, because he had to change his strategy so many different times to be able to take the heat off of himself. People were against him early, and he had to keep forming alliances and reforming alliances. I'm like, wow, how did he do that? I just wanted to know if you still wanted those music charms. They almost gave themselves away. The show really set that up funny, to where they put all the traders in the room first before everyone else. Discord support is the slowest thing ever I can imagine. Yeah, I missed you too, Tammy. I'm actually going to be starting my new job January the 29th, which is next Monday. So this is my last week of quote unquote freedom. So I hope that everything goes well for me next week. But I'm not going to guarantee what my live schedule is going to be like because of my job schedule, but we'll see. Get my email from Mark, then send me your info, May. Email me, mama 48,000. Where are we at? Congratulations on the new jobs. Thank you, Debbie. We'll see what happens. This is going to be my first job since 2015 that I'm not going to be a peer counselor anymore. So we'll see what happens. Even though I know this is not going to be relevant to most of you, but they've been making peer counselors do case management work for the last several years anyways. So I don't think it's going to be too much different than what I've been doing anyways. Yeah, I know. I was thinking that. Ma uses Ma for everything that she does. Ma email, Ma everything. Don't give up on doing your own thing. Thank you, Debbie. I mean, I don't want to say too much online, but I am definitely not giving up on doing my own thing. And I've learned a lot in these last 2 months of not being at work. And honestly, when I have the job, I am now going to start using my job and my funds that I get from my job in order to funnel that into my personal, business things. Because I felt like I was handicapped over these last couple of months, because even if I thought of something I wanted to do for my business, like if I wanted to create a logo, or if I wanted to create clothes like I usually do, or if I wanted to build up a website, I'm like, I don't have the money to do those things. So it reminded me of this millionaire that I spoke to some years ago that used to live down the block from me, where he said, always keep pursuing your dreams, but make sure your bread is buttered. And I understood the concept, but now I really understand what he was saying. He was saying, always make sure that you have enough money to cover what you need to cover for yourself. But keep building up your dreams on the side until you can make that side thing your main thing. That's what it is. No, I finished with that on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The 26th is going to be my last day. I've been using the Mob brand since age 9. Except I'm still 9. Good luck, Mark. We are behind you. Yeah, you missed that zing by a little bit, Lisa. You had to be a little bit quicker than that. You had to be just a little bit quicker than that. Yeah, a few years now. Yeah, a few years. All right, y'all. It's been really good seeing a lot of you. Some of you that I see all the time and a few that I haven't seen in a while. And that was my somewhat traders, not traders, the trust review. And I guess just like a water cooler of different shows. What are we? Tuesday today? So I guess Thursday. Gotta be quick, old lady. So I guess Thursday. I don't know. I guess Thursday night I'll get on here and recap the Traders episode 5. Hopefully Tasha will join me for that. Wednesday. Oh yeah, there's a challenge episode on Wednesday. So I'll probably recap the challenge episode Wednesday. So I got something Wednesday. I got something Thursday. The Trust is also airing tomorrow. And I think that the Trust episodes, I think Netflix puts things on at like 3 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So I might recap the Trust before the evening. We'll see. I will be there. Great. So I'll hit you up on Discord. All right, everybody. I hope you have an amazing night, and we are going to talk again soon.